They're sitting there. They're going, "What's Effie doing?" Hi everyone,
Hey,
welcome to What the Effie. And I would
Hello, hello.
to begin by saying thank you. I want to show my gratitude because the podcast hit over 1,000 views, followers. So I'm very, very grateful for that. Thank you very much to each and every one of you. So today we have as guests a uh, partnership of Kenndley and Gregg, who do wholesaling. And this came about because um, wholesalers are very important. And yet, in Sub 2 and in business in general, a lot of them end up spending a fair amount of money and losing their hopes and losing their money and not realizing what's really involved. So I started making some calls and trying to figure out, who does wholesaling and who's done it for more than a year. And I came across a few people, but when I met Kenndley and Gregg, I said, aha, I have to have them on. So, welcome, Kenndley. Welcome, Gregg. Thank you for coming on.
thank you for having us.
Yeah,
My,
thank you so much. We appreciate it.
you're welcome, and I appreciate it too. And I think that there are many, many people who can benefit. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Benjamin. I think many people can benefit from this. And I would like to begin by asking you guys, how did you two first meet? Tell us how you met, when and how you got into business together. Did you both have wholesale experience or did you get in it together? Talk to us about your beginning as a team.
So we go back farther than just the partnership. We're childhood friends. We weren't close growing up, but high school kicked around. We became pretty close. Um, Me and Greg. How long have we been in business together? 4 or 5 years now, Greg.
Yeah, I would say four and some change easily.
Yeah. So I had been doing it by myself for this will be my 10th year. So I was doing it for about 5, 6 years by myself. Tried a couple of people. Hey, Greg, your camera messed up. Um, but yeah, we've been around each other forever. But yeah, so 5, 6 years ago, I was doing it by myself. I tried a couple of people, had a partner here or there, and it just didn't work out. I was training. When I say partner, they weren't. We didn't understand the book, right? What a visionary and an integrator was, or you know, stuff like that wasn't talked about, not in my circle, anyways. When I first started getting into real estate, so I would try to mentor a couple of guys, and one of them, he kind of learned it himself and took off, and that's okay. And the other one, he just never really got it. But I always knew, me and Greg growing up, he was so smart. Like he's never going to take credit for how smart he is, but he's different than most people. He's just a whiz when it comes to computer, and because of our background, he understands, life. Like he has common sense too. A lot of people who are very book smart don't really understand common sense, but he has both aspects. So I'm lucky.
So
Yeah,
is Greg the integrator then?
yeah, super integrated. We're both visionaries, both integrators, but he's definitely more integrator. I'm definitely more visionary. But we could both do this on our own. Why would you? To me, having a partnership is the best thing in the world. So
Oh, I have to agree. I mean, I think that that's one thing that Sub 2 has really proven to everybody that, we're much better, stronger together.
yeah,
But you had actually started Kenley almost a decade ago?
yeah. So a decade in May 28th, I think.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
whenever we were at the mastermind, that was my 10-year anniversary, actually. Yeah.
yes, I recall that you said that. Now, Greg, when you first were approached by Kenley to do this, did you know anything about wholesaling? What did you think?
Whenever I first got into this, I was working for the Texas Department of Transportation, and I was at my fifth year for the DOT. And what's up, Robbie? Nice seeing you. It's Robbie, bro, from our childhood.
Yeah.
Um, haven't seen Robbie in a long time. Shouts out, man. But yeah, I was been working for the Texas Department of Transportation for 5 years. Um, I was just doing the grind. I thought I had, had a life insurance policy, had an insurance policy. I was working all the time, working at just building highways. It's pretty hot out there, and I just always felt that there was more to life. And then my dad had gotten into trouble, and he had went to prison, and I went to go visit him in prison, and he was in Breckenridge Unit. And in order to get to Breckenridge Unit from my house, I had to drive through Temple. So before I knew what skip tracing was, I skip traced Kenndley. I texted him and called him, and he was like, "Hey man, stop by on the way back through. Let's grab something to eat." And he put me on Dean Graziosi. He showed me about wholesaling. He took me to Tony Robbins, and then I was just like, that was cool and stuff like that. He bought my ticket. He bought me clothes to go and stuff like that because I was working for the DOT. I was going through a custody battle with my daughter. I just had a son, and then I had custody of my little brother and sister. And
Whoa,
my child.
Whoa, wait.
It was bad. It was terrible.
You say that again? How many
I was fighting.
people were you
I was
responsible
fighting
for?
my daughter, my son, my newly born son, and then my little brother and sister. And after they were taken out,
very old.
no, I was 26.
You were 26 at that time.
At the time.
Now, I'm curious is whether is this the little girl that you're talking about?
Yeah, that's my little sister Gracie right there.
Oh, she's beautiful.
So I had I'm a little bit darker than her. We got different moms. Her mom's super white. My mom's not. My mom's from Mexico. Shouts out to Mexico. But her growing up, and my little brother, I love him to death. I hang out with, before I moved, I hung out with my little brother every single day, took him fishing every other day. So, with our relationships, we always try to be really close, but that stemmed from it. I was making because I was a naive child, so I didn't go to court for my daughter. They put a lot of child support on me, and I was bringing home $800 a month with all those kids. I had to get another job getting paid under the table just to make it. It was rough. And then Kenndley came in, and he was like, "Man, there's more to life than just this." And then I don't know. I was naive. I didn't believe him. I thought it was a scam, so I just never chased my dreams for the longest time.
So you thought that Kenndley was out to scam you?
It was just the whole wholesaling thing didn't make sense.
Oh, in other words,
what I mean?
You were saying that you thought he might be getting scammed and that it wasn't really real.
Yeah, I just didn't, you know what I mean? Like if somebody tells you you can make, so when I read the book, they told us that you can make $500 from not doing anything. And I was like, $500? That's a lot of money. Like that's all you got to do and you'll make $500. And Kenndley was like, no, you can make a little bit more than that. And I was like, I don't know. I didn't want to take the leap. And then he was like, what do I have to do to get you to come work for me? And I was like, if you match my salary, you know what I mean? I'll think about it. But he would never match my salary. So I didn't do it. And the reason he wouldn't match it was because I was trying to get what I was getting paid, before taxes. Mm-hmm. So, and then I had insurance. I didn't want to lose insurance on all four of the kids.
Yeah.
I had
America. That's real hard.
Mm-hmm. And then my son's mom, she wasn't very supportive of it either. She wasn't a big fan of Kenndley because, we were poor. We lived in a really ugly, beaten up trailer house. I wish I had a picture of it. But Kenndley said I was living in 8 Mile, which we joke like that with each other because we're from the trailer park. And I don't know. She just didn't like him after that. So she wasn't supportive, wasn't down for the move. She was already far from her family. And I never took the leap. And
yes, I tried to get Gregg on probably, how long do you think it was? 2 years maybe? Between you finally coming over. And he just got into a real bad spot. And I was like, look, man, essentially I hired Gregg to be a driver to go out and find properties. I would pay him $1 address that he entered in that I approved.
So he was driving for dollars.
He was hustling. Yeah, he was just driving for dollars. That's what he was doing. But when he first started out, I had Deal Machine at the time, which is an app for driving for dollars. I made him do it the same way I learned, which was to grab a piece of paper, write down the addresses yourself, and go to the county courthouse and try, cross-reference them, see if there was a different mailing address. I essentially, so many people were hitting me up trying to learn how to do this stuff that I had to have some type of filter. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but I was like, I'm not just going to give you everything you want, because I always pour into people, and then, I wouldn't get the return. So, I made him work for it, and he did everything. Like, he just literally did. He didn't, he didn't come up with excuses that time. He accepted in life that he was going to do it.
Good.
Thanks, Ben.
Good.
But,
yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How sometimes you have to convince people, because oh, wait, this is on air. I can't really say it. Oh, I'll say it. I think my kids think I'm in the cult. And I've said yes. Just to kind of stop the argument, but anyhow, it's kind of funny. I understand what you're saying. Oh, I love
There's
that.
nothing wrong with drinking juice, Sometimes you gotta. Everybody thought I was in a cult too. Like, again, I'm from a trailer park. I came from nothing. My parents, my real parents passed away when I was 2, and my grandparents adopted me. And whatever. We've all had struggles.
Both parents. That's unusual.
Yeah, just drugs and alcohol, honestly. And then my grandparents adopted me, and then there was a lot of problems there. They ended up getting on drugs themselves, and that's why I'm from Houston. We're both from Houston, and I ended up moving to Temple because my parents got clean and came up here, and I just wanted to still have a relationship with them. But we all got stories. We all got things that have happened to us that are not fair, fortunate, whatever word you want to use. But you just gotta move past it. You gotta. I don't know. I just, for whatever reason, life, the way I say it, I watched an infomercial at 2:00 in the morning. That's how I got started in real estate. It said local workshop coming to your area. This is 2013. And I was like, why not? I've always worked warehouses my whole life. I didn't have, I dropped out of high school in the 4 months before I was supposed to graduate. So I never had education, right? Quote unquote. But I was just gullible. Like, life hadn't, as I say, it hadn't shit on me enough. And I was willing to just, why not take a chance? And that first little workshop, it's free. And then there's an upsell to a little or a decent sized workshop. And that was $1,000. And then that's the big sell. The next one's like $40,000. But I'm willing to, believe in myself. I didn't have the $40,000, so I couldn't do that. But I had saved up $1,000, and that was, a lot of money to me in 2013. I was getting paid, I think $5.41 an hour. So that took me a long time to save that money up.
It's a lot of money now.
Yeah. So I don't know. Life is it's all perspective, in my opinion. Even when me and Gregg go through stuff, we just talk about, yes, the situation sucks, but how are we going to look at it? Because it's always going to work out, But
so
me and Gregg,
an infomercial. And
yep.
You got going before Gregg came along, before you intersected again. And finally you talked Gregg into kind of joining up. It's amazing to me that you both started off, what we would call pretty poor, right? And rough. It's hard to be in your mid-20s and be responsible for so many people, and losing your parents when you're just an infant. I mean, that is really sucky. So, having to overcome all that, that's kudos to you. And I also think it's fantastic that you really don't dwell on it, but you rather just get over it and go forward, because many people are stuck in the past, and that's not, looking back is like, why? I mean, it's good to learn so you don't make the same mistakes, but it doesn't get you to your future, the best potential that you have. So, talk to me about that infomercial, because I got sick during the mastermind that you guys came to, and I just hightailed it out of there because I ended up having strep throat. Thank God I left, because it's very catchy, and everybody else got COVID. So if I had stayed, COVID and strep throat, we would have been a terrible mess. So I didn't get to see the very special thing that happened. And I'd like you to share that with our audience, if you'd be kind enough. Talk about that infomercial and what happened at the mastermind.
So Dean Graciosi is a real estate educator / investor. But at the time he was educating. I always say what's funny is because infomercials at that time were, Girls Gone Wild or some type of, scammy promotion thing. And for whatever reason, thank God it was on the right channel. So I watched an infomercial and it said, "Hey, local workshop coming to your town," and I went to that, probably a week later or 4 days later, something like that, and it was just an introduction to what real estate was, and they didn't use the word wholesaling, but that's essentially what they were talking about. How to make money with no money, how to buy houses with no money. And after I left that workshop, I went and talked to my dad about it. And we're the area we're from. We thought there's no way this has to be a scam. There's no way. But I saved up $875, and he lent me $125. And he said, if you're willing to lose that much, I'll lose a little on you, and maybe you'll set up a future for us or something. So yeah.
So you went in, and Dean lent you the rest?
No, so the first, free workshop, they upsell you to $1,000. They're basically, it's a filter, right? They want to get the true action takers. So sometimes money is the best way to filter out people who are not going to really, they're just negative mindset, or they're not going to take action. So my dad lent me $125. I saved up $875. It took me, I want to say 2 months to do that. Honestly, I had to wait for the next time that they came around in my area. And, I was working graveyard shift. So I would get off of work at 4, and the thing would start at 7. So I'd have to drive. It was, an hour and a half away from me. It was just a whole lot. Right. But whatever, I made it. And to be honest with you, like, they would tell us to create a bandit sign, like, for homework. And I would do that, but I didn't understand why I was doing it. I was just doing it because I had homework, and that's what I learned from school.
Homework was, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I didn't understand all the stuff that they were teaching me. I truly did not understand. It was going over my head, but I realized I was in a room there was probably 300 people there, and they all talked different than anything I had ever heard or learned from, and these were just normal people like me paying to be in that class. And then there was the educators and the people who could answer some questions. And I just, I don't know. It just somehow it worked out. But anyway, I went home from that thing, and I didn't really do a lot with it, because I just thought, I got to have some money. Even though they teach you all this stuff, you still got to have some money. And it took me almost 3 years to get my first deal. And the whole time I was, they make this thing called plug phones, where if you work in a factory or you work with, essentially it just looks like, how you roll up the headphones and put in your ear. It looked like that, but they were actual headphones. So I was able to listen to stuff while I was at work, even though you're not supposed to. And I was just reprogramming my brain. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but that's what I was doing. Yeah. I was just, I listened to people talk about real estate. Other people talk about mindset. Other people talk about just trying to just learn new things instead of what I thought was life. And
tell us what happened at the mastermind, because I don't know that many people that are in the audience that were there, but
yeah. So that's Dean Graziosi and me. I was able to just tell my story about how, using his education, I was able to change my family, and the rest of any type of bloodline that I'll ever have will always be okay. Using what he taught, I did have to put in the work, but he speaks a great message. He doesn't really teach, if I'm being honest, a lot of real estate anymore. He teaches a lot of mindset stuff these days, and self-development. But I got to meet my mentor and shake his hand and give him a hug and just appreciate him. My son, I have a 6-year-old son, and my son's name is Raylan Dean. His middle name is Dean. Like, that's how much this guy impacted my life.
Wow. Does he know that? Does he know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is so cool. That is so cool. Oh my God. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Now, I was so out of it. I remember you, Kenndley, very much, but I can't remember. Greg, were you at the mastermind too?
Yep.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
Yes, I was.
Okay. Because I was a little kind of starting to go out, and I just remember thinking, Kenndley has hair that many women will be so jealous about. It was, well, anyhow, so that's pretty cool. Now, once you guys got going, and Gregg was making some money and he realized that this is real. Talk to us a little bit about your, um, you know, your model. What did you start with? How did you evolve?
So ever since we've been together, I didn't know this is what we were doing, but we've always had the attitude of less deals, more money. Everybody teaches volume. Let's do 10 wholesale deals a month. Let's do 10 sub twos a month. And, you know, either I'm really lazy or that just doesn't resonate with me. I don't know. But, all the deals I did before, Greg, let's say, I was wholesaling by myself for about 6 years. So I probably did, a good 70 deals by myself over those years, eight to 10 a year, enough to, live a comfortable life, making $10,000-$20,000 a wholesale deal.
Nice.
And then Greg came along and he just instantly, I don't know how to explain it, but like he said before, he skip traced me before he knew what skip tracing was. So we're able to use that type of information in his brain to like, how do we just do this on a way deeper level of how to essentially solve people's problems? Because that's all it is we're solving really big problems for people and make more money than most. Because, the average wholesale fee when I first got started was $5,000. Even my first wholesale deal, I told myself, no, I don't want to make 5. I'm going to do 7. Like my first one's got to be 7, so I always had to whatever, make it bigger. But what we do, and I want him to talk about his first 2 deals, but what we do is they call it stacking in the industry, but really we're just going after a lot of pain. And let's say somebody passed away and they still have that house and there was no, they didn't have a will, so the house wasn't going to go to anybody. What happens to that house? Well, eventually taxes are getting owed. There's a mortgage payment if they have one of those. There, it's vacant now. There's just a lot of problems that are really happening. And he's way more technical and he'll explain it a heck of a lot better. But we're just really helping a lot of problems. We basically create a list of a lot of problems and we just go after that instead of going after high equity absentee owners like everybody else, which makes money. You can make money doing anything here. We just go after it's a stack of 7 to 8 things. And those deals always make us roughly between 35 and 50 grand on each time closed. And it's because they're really complicated and they're not easy to close. And I love it. But I would really like if Greg would talk about his first 2 deals, because
yes. And also further explain to us, Greg, the stacking approach that you guys use. Talk to us a little bit more. Either the first 1 or 2 that you did, or just typically, like that. That sounds interesting. That you can make more money if you do that.
So my first deal, it was my great grandma's half sister's house, and it had been sitting vacant for since I was a child. So I was like, man, how do I get a hold of who owns it now? So I already had enough information to know that I need to go check on the county appraisal district and go check the deed and see who owned it. And it was this guy named Artie Hanneth, and he lived in Brenham, Texas. And I could not get this guy Artie to.
This was your grandma's house?
No, it was my great grandmother's sister's house, her half sister.
She used to live there, right? But she didn't own it.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's how I knew it was there. So what I did was he owned a bar called Shooters in Brenham. So I called the bar and I left a message and I told him it was urgent for Artie to call me. You know what I mean? And they're like, well, he's not in right now. I'll have him call you back. So he called me back and he was like, what's going on? And I was like, hey, your house is just sitting over there vacant. I seen some people walking around it the other day. What are your plans with it? And he said he used it as storage and he wanted to sell it. And I was like, well, how much do you want for it? And he told me he wanted $25,000 for it. And I was like, all right, well, can I take a look at the condition and I'll see if I can give you that much. He would not meet me over there no matter what. So one day, I don't know why. I know he needed to sell it because he hadn't been doing anything with it and taxes were going up and they were doing improvements in that neighborhood. They put some new roads in that neighborhood. So I knew that the property taxes were going to go up and they built a new school. So I knew he was looking at paying. So I was like, man, meet me over there. Finally, I went over there. I checked the back door. The back door was unlocked, so I pushed it open. And Kenndley called him and said, "Hey, it looks like somebody broke into your house." And he's like, "Well, if y'all want to meet me over there, y'all meet me there right now." So what I did was, I met him over there, and Kenndley was over there too. He was in town. We all met over there, and I was like, "Hey, me and Kenndley were talking." He's like, "You need to get this thing super cheap. It's it's a real piece of shit. Pardon my language." And I was like, all right, all right. So I talked him down. I ended up, talking him down to 20 grand. And then my aunt bought it from me. My aunt Marcia, she bought it from me for 25. So my first deal, I made 5 grand, and I split it with Kenndley because he talked me through it. And that led me to know that it worked. That was proof of concept. And I was like, man, there's got to be a way to make more money off of this. And I went to
Wait,
this next
what
house in
do
this
you mean by off of
neighborhood
this? You mean that house in particular, or
off of
by?
wholesaling.
Okay, I find it amazing that you solved a multi-generational problem for your own family and helped another family member and got into wholesaling. Yes,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
rocks.
That's my aunt's first flip that she ever did, is that house. And it looks really nice now. Like, I wish I had pictures of it and stuff in the story. But my my next house, I found it driving for dollars. It was sitting there abandoned, and I seen the mailbox, and the last name on the mailbox said Gross. And I was like, man, I know that last name. Those people used to be my landlords when I was a kid, because we lived in, it was a small trailer park. It had 4 trailers on it and a 2-story house that the Grosses lived in. It was
Wow.
like it was like their grandchildren that lived there. They were our landlords. So um, I ended up getting a hold of. I found the. What I did was I found the. It was put in a trust. For some reason, they recorded the trust documents. I don't know why, because sometimes they just don't do that. But I read the trust documents. I built out a family tree on Ancestry, and I got a hold of this lady named Joni Gross. I called her. I met her at a corner store. This corner store is called Slovacek's. If you're ever in Snook, Texas, pretty good meat, pretty good sausage. But I met her over there. I got the house locked up, I think, for $96,000.
Yep.
And we went to a real estate meetup, I think the next night or a couple nights later. And we told this
About a week
investor
later.
about
Yeah.
a week later. Yeah. It was a guy named Kevin Kuklis. He went over there. He walked through it. Whenever he walked through it, he shot us an offer of $186,000.
Wait.
He
No,
shot us an offer of
96,
192.
180?
1, 2. Yeah, it was I'm a little off.
Hold on. Say it again, Greg. You're breaking.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep, now we
It was
can.
Kevin shot us an offer of 192, and he signed the. I was like, Kenndley, do you think he's going
What
to
he
do
did
this?
was he said, "How much do you guys want for it?" Right? He wouldn't make his offer because he's an experienced investor. He's been doing it for years and years and years. And I just threw out an arbitrary number. I was like, "Well, other guys are going over there," and somebody gave us kind of an offer of 220, and I just threw that number out. I didn't know if that was a number that would stick. And he said, "Well, I can't go that high, but I can do probably." He said 190, and I said, "Man, if you can come up to 200," and remember, at 190, we're making a lot of money.
You're not.
Yeah, and I was like, "Can you come up to 200?" He came up to like 192 or 194, I forget now, but
Nice.
yeah, it was. His first deal was $2,500 because we split it, so 25, and then his second deal, he made $96,000 on it.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
that must have helped with all the responsibility that you had there, Greg. Those young ones.
Yeah, it was definitely, it changed my life. I remember whenever he signed the assignment, I started crying because I was like, holy shit, like I'm really about to make this much money. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then Kenndley and we talked on the phone every day.
I actually have to sit with that for a second because it's so big. I mean, for some, like it's big for any kind. It's almost triple digit, but the triple digit stupidity is just an.
We did make triple digit because we bought other properties from her. We ended up making a total of 126 total from.
Wow.
that.
The thing is, though, that it really must have been totally overwhelming to suddenly, go from being an hourly employee and not being and having to have two jobs and struggling to getting that kind of money. That must have been rather, amazing.
Well, so he had lost his job actually from TxDOT. So I was essentially paying him $1 a property, and then I was also, just giving him money to survive. Wasn't a lot because I wanted him to earn it, but he was able to, like, yeah, I don't know. He completely changed your life, and we're making it sound easy, but we inked that deal in July, and we didn't close it till December 23rd because we had so much. That deal changed how we do investing, because now we do curative title work, and essentially we had to do a bunch of stuff to get that thing closed and track down a bunch of people and remove some liens, and there was minors involved, and we had to get the courts to represent them and all kinds of stuff. But that deal,
Curative, curative what?
curative title work,
Nice.
so
Sounds like
it's like
something that Greg would be, right up his alley, right?
it's perfect for him because he loves putting together puzzles, and I hate taking control and talking. I get so excited about this stuff, and sometimes Greg, I don't know. I like, showcase him because he's cool as hell. So, but he likes putting together puzzles. So it's just a big puzzle for him, and he's got like 1,000 pieces, and before you know it, he's like putting it all together, and he just, yeah, I don't know. It completely changed our lives, and this is really the type of deals we do. We still do the easy ones. We
Mhm.
still do, the simple deals, but majority of our stuff is very deep prospect, very really hard to get a hold of people, getting embassies involved, doing all kinds of stuff. And it's
I would like, if you don't mind for a second, do you mind, Greg, telling us a little bit about the different steps in curative title? What does that mean?
what all did we have to do to get Johnny
Oh,
Gross?
I said Greg. Sorry.
So
Whoa, boy.
whenever
Come on, Greg.
whenever you look at the deed,
Sorry, I'm
can
having
you
fun
hear me?
with Kenndley.
You're fine.
Yeah, I know, I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, whenever you do a deed, so like the deed will transfer. In Texas, there's laws and it tells you how people inherit property, and that's kind of how the chain of title works. So let's say I'm a great great grandpa, and my children are deceased, and my grandchildren are deceased, and some of them didn't have children. Well, who does the interest go to? Well, you have to clear all that up to find, the chain of title, and you have to see how much interest they have. And you have two options. You can either buy out their interest, so you absorb it, or whenever you close it out, they have to sell it then. So some you can close outside of title, and you can get on title before closing. But as long as you can show all of that to the title company, you can get 100% interest. And because people are fighting and they disagree, you can come in and kind of be the mediator, kind of like Joni and Sarah Gross. They're one of them is the wife of Sarah's brother, and Sarah's an adopted daughter. They hated each other, would not talk to each other. There was a child custody battle, and I had to be the great mediator between the both of them. And it was challenging. It was difficult, but we're in a family was $40,000 behind on taxes. I got to put money in their pockets. They got rid of the property. It wasn't something that they had to worry about. And I did, I cleared title for a couple of other properties, and in the end, I felt very good because I could help those people. Sometimes another thing with title work is there's liens on the property. Like you can have a mechanic's lien, and
Yep.
those people just want their money sometimes, or child support liens, or IRS liens, um, or Medicaid liens. I think it's called Mercy,
Yeah.
Medicaid Emergency Recovery. Um, though, though that can take a couple years, but I mean, as
Wow.
long as as long as you put in the effort and you know how much something's worth, it'll work out. Some people, they're like from a different country, such as the instance in Kenya. This guy had multiple wives, and
In Kenya?
yeah, yeah, and then he had a mistress over here in the States. So we had
Oh,
to
wait.
figure
The
out.
mistress gets some kind of a leverage too?
We
He
tried.
uh he had, he broke some of the property off and did give it to her. He gifted it to her. So that, I mean, yeah, it was an issue. But I mean, once you do all the legwork and you understand how to read the chain of title, um, you read Texas law books, especially, if you're two high school dropouts from a trailer park, and you just try to absorb it as much as you can, then things will work out for you. If you put in the hard work and you understand how something works, and you can reproduce the cycle. And that second deal that I got, that's where I put my thinking cap on. And I remember the conversation clear as day. I was sitting in my car and I was like, how do we get more deals like that? And Kenley's like, well, let's write down what they were going through. So we wrote it down, and then I just started figuring out if we could start aggregating, gathering the data from the county to see if we could reproduce those results in other houses. And that's how I figured out, that was our avatar, that was our,
Cool.
like,
Cool.
that's who we need to get in front of.
So, Kenley, even though it was a little bit difficult to convince him, I imagine that you're really glad you did, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it took me, I think, a total of 3 years for him to finally come around, but I knew he would. Like, I, you know, I was putting out bandit signs, and that's how I was getting deals done. And then bandit signs quit working, and then I started handwriting letters. So there's always ways to get deals, but I was not a systems guy. I was just a hustle guy, and I was just I will put my feet to the pavement. And I'll go knock some doors, like if So when he came around, he just like it was just us brainstorming, and then him taking the lead role of like being so smart on the computer, which I'm not, and just like, oh shit, I didn't know you could do that. How, basically, as I would see him do something on the computer, and my brain would go, oh my god, that's possible. Well, hey, what if we did this? And then he'd be like, yeah, I could do that. It's super easy. Boom, 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 boom. And then I'd be like, well, if you do that, what if we could do this? And then he's just, and there's times where it's a lot more difficult, but yeah, I knew he was always going to be on the team. Like I didn't know if he knew that, but so this is how it started. This is why I knew he'd always be on the team. I just remember him playing Call of Duty, which is like a video game that they would play when I would go visit them. And somehow he looked up their IP address to the guy he was playing with, and was like, dude, if you don't shut up, I'm going to come over to your house at, whatever, whatever, whatever. And I was like, how did you do that? Like, people don't know how to do that. And when he did that, that's always stuck in my head. Like, I didn't, skip tracing is a buzzword now. Skip tracing was nobody talked about that stuff when I first got started. That didn't start coming popular. It's like 2017, 18, 19 or something. So I didn't know that's what he was doing. But yeah, he was basically skip tracing people. And I don't know, it's super funny.
That's a little harder to do with IP addresses, I understand. I mean, I haven't tried to set my IP address overseas, but I do know what's it called when you um, throw your address out to someplace else so that they don't know where you are. I mean, I think it's a little complicated from more than just regular skip tracing.
Yeah.
But that's great, great, Greg, that you actually taught yourself how to do that. Um, when we have some of the mentors talk about uh, that the system of schooling, keeping people down, and also the system of the social economic systems, whether you're born black or whether you're, born poor, whatever, it really kind of holds you down, and how it can be overcome with mindset that grows and that just goes forward. I kind of wonder. I mean, I'm sure that Dean and Graziosi and Tony and that realize they've affected a lot of lives. But, honestly, to think that his infomercial was the start of this and how you guys have grown incredibly and solved so many issues and are so much happier. Your lives are better. It's pretty amazing. It is. It's pretty amazing. So I think it's pretty cool that you guys had gotten to this point for sure. And tell me about where you are now. Is it the two of you? Is it a bigger team? And how big has the team ever been? And, talk to me about the size of it and also where you think you'd like to go.
I'll start off by saying that I think the thing that Kenley, myself, my older brother, people that I respect, Dean, um, Tony Robbins, I think the thing that all of us have in common is we've all experienced a certain amount of trauma, and we didn't let it defeat us. We use it to empower our lives, to make the proper changes instead of accepting defeat, because you only lose whenever you accept defeat. We use it, as a catalyst to propel ourselves forward, to become better human beings. And I think that's what separates the winners from the losers. Like, just having that winner attitude, and life isn't out to get you, life's for you. And I think, whenever you start believing that life happens for you, not to you, I think that'll really change your mind. And it took me a long time to learn that. And I'm glad I met somebody like Kenndley to actually teach me that, because I don't know anybody else who can actually teach that mentality.
Yeah, everybody asks me why, I'm the positive guy in a lot of people's friend group or whatever. And I don't know why. I just am. And then when I started actually learning, you know, mindset stuff, I was like, yeah, why would I ever want to go back to thinking, some of these negative thoughts? Like, the words you use, on yourself, like Elena talks about a lot in Sub 2, you got to be kind to yourself. And she preaches that to me and Greg. Every time she sees me, she always says, tell Greg to be kind to himself. Tell Greg to be kind to himself, so,
Yeah.
because he's pretty tough on himself. But yeah, I don't know. To answer your question before, at the height of our team, we had 17 people working for us. We had a decent sized organization, 2 Americans, 15 people overseas that were working for us.
Like VA?
VAs. We have a VA company, Hourglass VAs, and so we were able to source a lot of
Your
people.
own?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you call me, ma'am? Please don't call me ma'am. Just call me Effie. Or what the Effie, or F and Effie, but not ma'am. What's the name of it?
Hourglass VAs.
Does it still go?
Yeah, we have a lot going on right now, so we've kind of let it be on the back burner, I guess is the words we'd use, but it's still there.
Okay.
Still got clients.
If you want to drop the name, or is this how you write it? Sorry if I've got it wrong.
Perfect.
All right. Okay. And you did it yourselves? Wait a minute. How'd you do it? Wait a minute. I know. Greg did it. And you just.
No, actually, we went to the mastermind in, I think that was 2021. Is that right, Greg?
Yeah, I believe so. I think you're correct on that.
Yeah, 2021 in February. In Texas, we had a big freeze. But anyway, we ended up making it to the mastermind. We had to drive. It was like an 18-hour drive turned into like a 27-hour drive because of all the ice. And we don't know how to drive on ice. We're not used to that stuff. But we got there, and Pace said something. That was his second mastermind he did. And so he was still novice. He was still real hands-on. It was a little different. But he said something, and he said, replace expenses with income. And our biggest expense was our team. And, me and Greg had already kicked around the idea of starting a VA company. And when he said that, it just made, sometimes you just need somebody to say it, even though you already know the answer.
Yeah.
And he said that, and, we got to work. And I think within a month we had 2 clients. We started with people in the mastermind. We said, hey, we want to do it for free. We won't charge you anything. We just want to figure out all the bugs and how to do all this stuff. And it's completely different than running a wholesale operation, to be honest with you. You gotta, books we read now are business books, right? It used to be real estate books, but it's running a business and making money is not the same thing. You can hustle your way to $1 million, if I'm being honest. You got to hustle really hard. But to run a business is something we're neither one of us are that good at yet. So,
I love the way you said yet.
Yeah, yet. But you just got to put in the work and put in the education and time and hang around people who have figured it out and just ask advice. That's the beautiful thing about our industry that no other industry has. We give advice, and nothing's really secret. Of course, there's a couple secrets, but our industry openly just gives and gives. And I wish that was Pace that started it, but even before Pace, it was, the Max Maxwell's and the, just the local little gurus around. So no other industry has that. I'm very fortunate to have that. But yeah, it was 17 right now. We have let everybody go, and it's just me and Greg. And we had to rebuild, talk to Pace, and his advice was, me and Cody had to rebuild twice, and sometimes you just got to pull the plug and do it. Essentially, we let our team down, and we stepped away too much. And then when we would come in and, as you would call it, crack the whip, or like, hey man, what's going on in here? We lost the respect for everybody, lost the respect for us because we disappeared for so long, essentially. So we had to restart. Right now it's just been me and Gregg for these last, I think 4 months now. 4 months. So quarter in a month. And we've generated, I don't know, 190, I think, so far.
Nice.
And we've got a couple contracts still.
Nice.
We have so many closings, and if they would all close, we'd make a whole bunch of money. But those all take 6 months to close is kind of the issue.
That's okay. Going after your numbers, so it kind of makes up for it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I would just say, like, I don't know, my life's totally different. Like, I lived in, like 4 days ago, I lived in Brenham, Texas. We got an extra house that we don't have tenants in. So I was like, Kenndley was like, just move to Temple. We got that little house over there. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I should. So, like, I don't know.
And we say little house, but his house is bigger than my house. He's in a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. And we got it seller finance, 0 down.
Wow.
30-year term. Yeah, seller finance is beautiful. Creative finance is like the coolest thing in the world. I didn't know that's what it was, but yeah, that's what it is.
That's the most beautiful thing I learned too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it? So now, are you continuing the same type of work in regards to how you're doing your business, or by sourcing the complicated issues and doing curative title work in your area, or do you go outside your area? Talk about that a little bit.
So mainly
I've done.
Go ahead, no, Greg. Yeah.
I was gonna say we've done deals in Arizona with Tristan Trenberth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We've partnered with
a lot of specific to one area.
Yeah, people just come to us for the.
It's not.
So they would bring a property and they'd say, "This is messed up. I don't know what's going on," and then you guys would figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Schedule C pops up, and when you're closing a property, and Schedule C will say all these problems. It'll be a list of things that you got to solve, and maybe they're able to solve a couple of them, but they can't get them all done. And then that's when they come to us, and we say, hey, you can do it. This is what you got to do to get it done. And if they don't want to do it themselves, then that, because we try to give, then besides just getting the deal. But yeah, a lot of the times we'll end up, it depends on how much work we got to do. It might be a 70-30, it might be a 50-50, it might be a 30-70. I don't know. It just depends. Like if the deal's not going to close without us coming in and helping, and they're not willing to do the work, then we're going to get a bigger piece of the pie, because it's just a lot of work. Because a lot of the deals we do take up front capital too. Now it's not like we got to pay for attorneys and we got to do all kinds of crap.
I love it. That's so interesting. So I think this is very cool. All right. So I love it. The C in Schedule C stands for call Gregg and Kenndley. I think that's awesome. That should be your tagline everywhere. It really should.
It.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm curious to know, what would you, a lot of people in Sub2 and also elsewhere who are looking to start out in real estate, and some of them are thinking of starting in wholesaling. What advice would you give them for starting out in wholesaling?
We just did an experiment, and I wanted to see, we wanted to see how long it would take to get a deal with no systems, no smart. Let's just call it no brains, right? And Gregg, he inked the deal on Friday, and Gregg he hates talking to people. He doesn't hate talking to people. He just thinks he's not good at it. And he did all this by himself. So if Gregg can do this, anybody can do this.
He started searching. Explain what you did, Gregg, and did it work?
I woke up every day early, and then I drove, and every time I seen a vacant house, I skip traced them, and I didn't stop skip tracing until I got somebody on the phone. I did about 10 to 15 people a day. It took me about 10 business days, 2 weeks, and I inked the deal the 10th day. So,
awesome. So
Yeah.
you were driving for dollars, and then you skip traced them, and you did about 15 a day, and within 10 days, then you got one that was interested.
Yeah, and I mean, it was the same thing. Like I didn't source. I did not go out of my way to source a hard to find deal. What I did was, after I talked to the guy, I realized that they were going through all the stuff I usually look for. The mom passed away. There was a messy probate. There was a Medicaid lien on there. And luckily, the Schedule C got taken care of for me. And the guy was like, I don't want to mow it no more. I would give it to you if I could, but my family wants money, because I tried to get him to sell it to me on terms.
Oh, I see.
And this is a guy who, you know, most integrators, they say like, I'm not good at talking to people. It's just, you know, I'd rather sit in the back, right? But you know, this is I love that this just happened, because it proves that anybody can get a deal done if you're willing to hustle. Right. He didn't, you know, we are fortunate enough, we do have some education, we have some experience, but essentially anybody who's never done a deal could go out and do that. He just drove around from sun up to basically sundown, and he wrote addresses down, and then he looked up he just typed in Brenham, Texas, or wherever city he was in, property tax records. And then you just start playing around. And then to skip trace them, you can use free websites like True People Search or Free Skip, you know, what the other one he uses. And it's just, if he just got a deal done in 10 days, that's what I'm trying to get at. And
that is so cool.
He inked it up for 115. It's probably worth 250. Needs some work for sure, but we'll probably sell that thing for 170. And
who do you sell to?
Local investors, or we list it on the MLS. We raise private capital a lot from sub 2, to be honest with you. Majority of our money comes from people in sub 2. Mm-hmm. We give very favorable terms, and we would do a clean out on that. If let's say the investors that we're going to send it to come back and they say they're only going to offer 140, we're going to go borrow some money, and we're just going to clean it up and maybe put some flooring down and paint, and that's it, and then relist it, and it'll sell. And at that point, it would sell for like 200. So it's like, you know, but I love it because he did that deal all on his own. He just hustled his ass off. That's all he did. He didn't use like a system. There's apps out there and there's tools and all that. All he did was drive around, and he just got a deal done. And anybody can do that.
That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool, to say the least. And I want to come back to it in a second. But who's this cutie?
Oh, that's my daughter. She's 10 years old. Super smart as a whip, actually. Good kid, man. Love her to death. But yeah, so I have a son and I have a daughter. They both have different moms. Okay. Yeah, they say the third time's a charm. So when I have my third kid, hopefully it works out.
You know, I personally think that, well, my own personal belief is that if a couple doesn't work out, that's okay. I mean, not okay, it's hard, but you get over it. But it does not mean in any way that you can't both be excellent parents. So I don't like it when one parent gives up on them, you know, or both, whatever. So that's interesting for sure. And I've just got a couple of pictures I'm going to shoot through. What the heck were you doing here, boy?
That was in Maui in Hawaii. You got to realize
sitting in mud.
Yeah, I'm a kid from a trailer park who never had, you know, I get to travel. I get to do a lot of cool things these days. And I'm very fortunate, and I love my life. I'm very happy. You know, there's stress obviously, but I love it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot more reason to be happy than unhappy. Yeah. And where are you guys here?
That's the Mastermind in Arizona.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah, that's the first time we went. That was in 2021.
I believe that's the botanical garden in Tempe. Is it Tempe?
Very cool. I do have to say, Greg, that you look very perplexed. You're like, what are you doing to that?
Because I'm setting my hand on cactuses, and he's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, they're pretty amazing, those plants, but that is pretty cool. Now, I, of course, have been, among other things, been pushed out to social media thanks to Pace and to Abraham. So, you know, I just have to say that the story that Kenndley just said about Gregg in 10 days getting out without anything, that should be on YouTube. And I did notice that you don't have a lot on YouTube, but I encourage you, because you know what? I feel like you guys really, really, um, have touched me. I'm like, that is pretty amazing that you guys did that. And you can see from the comments in the chat that you are affecting people. And Greg, you're wrong if you have any hesitation. That you are a good speaker. You were a little nervous before we got on air. There's no doubt about that. But heck, I am too. And Kenndley is more relaxed about it because he has that beautiful mountain view behind him. But and you and I don't. But just a little bit of practice will get you out there, and you've got a lot of value. We all have different people we can talk to. But think about the people you can talk to that maybe you wouldn't have, like Dean helped you guys, right? Not that you have to go into the business of helping and that it's your job to take care of others, but my goodness, it's so inspiring. And I think that there are a lot of people who may still be stuck in some of the situations that you guys were, that would probably be going, hell, if that dude can do it, look at that. Maybe I can do it too. So, and it would certainly help you to get over that shyness, or whatever you want to call it, about not talking. I think that you're a wonderful speaker, Greg. Kenndley's a natural, but you're wonderful. Just a little bit, I can see from your body language that you're a little bit more heavy in it, but I really encourage it, because I have loved what you guys have told us today. I have loved it. And I wish that, honestly, I feel like, just like, not that I want to dwell on your childhood, but knowing and wanting to know more makes me curious. If I'm curious, I know that there are other people too. So all I can say is that it's pretty freaking awesome that you guys are helping other people to, get the title work all figured out, and to also make good money at it. When you have a skill set, a very niche developed, great skill set like you guys do, and in that knowledge, you deserve to be making very good money at it. And you don't need to do as much, because, I shouldn't say as much, but as much in the numbers, because it sounds to me like you guys probably get to know your deals much more than somebody who's doing small amounts of money and just trying to flip daisy chain, So
there's good and bad with that. There's times when I wish we did, maybe more of the transactional stuff, because what you just said is so accurate. We're so much more involved with these deals, where we're, when you're in real estate, you're not just an investor, or you're not just, a marketer, really. Like, there's times when we are, there's people that are very suicidal. There's people that are, the amount of hats we wear when we do these deals, whether it's like, Greg one time for a deal went and bought a refrigerator for somebody and bought our groceries until we finally closed. And it's like, that's just the type of stuff you do, because number one, it's the right thing to do. But number two, it's because we know what it's like to be in those situations. I mean, yeah, growing up, I didn't have gas for a long time. Power would go on and off. We'd be stealing water from neighbors. So I can relate to a lot of the avatar that we kind of go after, to be honest with you. It's very, Yeah.
And I'm sure that when they are approached by people who have been there, they're less threatened. They're more, they don't think that, they can feel it. They can feel that you care, and that you, are there for more than just, a transaction of getting the title.
Yeah.
Truly.
A little hack that I do when I go on these appointments, because I still go on majority of the appointments. I still have my old uniform for my job, and I just say, hey, I'm just trying to, maybe one day not have to go to work if I get enough rentals. And,
wear your old uniform?
Yeah. No, he knows everybody in his little old town. It's crazy, because he lives in like a 1,500 people population town, and he's done, I don't know, 12, 15 deals in that little bitty old town. And I don't know, it's just,
I love it. I love it. Well, I am very, very tickled pink. And I feel like we're just barely scratching the surface. And are you guys going to go to the next mastermind? Please say yes.
believe so. Yes.
Good,
Believe
because
so.
I'm going to too. And I would love it if we could just get a chance to do a lunch or a breakfast or something with just the three of us, because I feel like there's just so much more, and I feel really, really honored. I have not said this yet, and it might sound a bit weird, but I hope at some point at time you guys will agree to come back.
I would love to.
Because
Because
I want to get to know you better.
he can dig deep into we don't pay for data, number one. Like, we get all of our data from the county. When you understand how the county works, you can do anything you want. You don't have to go pay for data, all that good stuff.
Wow.
When you understand how things are filed down at the county, you can beat people, and if you understand your county. So here's the problem with what we do and versus what everybody else does. Somebody like a Sam Singh, who was just absolutely crushing it. It's like, or a Daniel Quijano, who is, their business model is a lot of JV and a lot of like deals brought to them. And that seems like more money at times compared to what we do. I'll be honest, but for what we do, we just know the county. Like, we know the people down at the county by their name. And there's times when she'll call me and say, "Hey, Kenndley, this lady just came in and she's not gonna be able to figure it out. You may want to give her a call." And she'll just give me their number, and we can go help them solve a problem.
Do you feel like what you know in your county applies to others counties?
Yes, every county is
Okay.
different, but the same.
Okay. Well, then that might very well be the topic for our next time that you come on is
Yeah.
how do you do that? How do you learn about it and do it without having to pay for a lot of different things? Because
That was the issue in the beginning, guys. For anybody who's listening to you as well, the issue from us is, we had third-party data. I'm not going to say any names. Like, there's good products out there, but whenever we would aggregate the data or whenever we would pull the data, to start marketing to it, it would be old. Like, a lot of people would be like, "Man, I already lost that house. I already sold that house," and it's like, man. So, how much money are we actually losing? Because we paid for we pay for the third party data service, their fee, and then we also pay to have it pooled. And then we also pay to have it skip traced. Then we got to pay the phone line. Then we got to pay the VAs. And it's like, how do we how do we check the veracity of this data? And how do we make sure the accuracy of it? And it starts from the source. If you source it yourself, then you know that you got good data, because your marketing is only going to be as good as your good data. If you have 100 people that you're trying to reach and 99 of them aren't people you need to be talking to, then it doesn't matter what the list is, because
Right.
it's not accurate. So that's where we started. It's the same thing that Suzanne said earlier. We reverse engineered the problem, and then that's how we found the solution. And you'll solve a lot of problems in your life that way too, not just data.
Right.
Greg got into an argument with a guy from PropStream, and Greg was like, "I'll just build my own system if you're gonna," they got into a little tiffle, and he's like, and then the guy from PropStream was like, "Yeah, good luck." And then 3 weeks later, Greg built a system. He's like, "Fuck you, I did that."
I love it. I love it. And maybe what we could do is have an actual Zoom inside Sub 2 where, there's so many people who come in new and they don't know what to do and they're spending so much money. And it's not just the money, it's the time and it's the hope.
Yeah.
So if you'd be game, think on that. Because we could probably put a little dent in that for just, how many people have grown to get on there and be able to use a whiteboard and share your screen. Greg, once you're set up and, like you're settled into where you are, consider doing a Zoom for an hour or so that we could bring it to the newbies. And Pat,
we have old Zooms in Sub 2. I don't know how you're going to, because we did that, right? We were trying to help people and show them how to deep skip trace people and show them, our thing was called, the riches are in the niches. So it's, how to be, we would love to do that again. No,
okay.
We would absolutely love that.
Okay, I like it. I like it a lot. Thank you. And we'll stay in touch here. I like it. The riches are in the niches. And just let me know when you've settled in, and then we can approach, whoever we need to in sub 2 to get that set up. Because I think it would be a great, great value. All right. So for now, I want to say thank you to everyone. Oh, and I'm going to start getting in the habit now of saying, like I'm supposed to, please press subscribe and like and leave a comment, because apparently I haven't been asking you guys to do that. And once I asked in sub 2, we got over 1,000. So I'm going to try to do better. So please do that. And we shall see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Later, everybody.